So there is one thing I really like to do with all of my cars to ensure that they're protected. And I know what you guys are out there thinking, oh, we're talking about XPEL, but we're not. We're talking about a different kind of protection. And that is going to be a customized radar detector installation. When I say customized, I mean basically we're going to take the radar detector and we're going to hardwire it into the truck. We're going to make sure that it looks as good as possible, but also allows it to function as well as possible. So let's go ahead, jump in the truck, and get this done. If this is something that you guys have been looking into but haven't pulled the trigger on yet, you're definitely going to want to watch this because it is way easier than you think. So before we get started too much on the actual install, what we're going to do is kind of get set up with the blend mount and the actual radar detector itself. So this is the radar detector I'm going with. It is the Redline 360C. This is basically the latest offering from Escort, and I have always had really good luck in the past with Escort radar detectors. Up until recently, I was running the Max 360C radar detector, and it was fantastic, but this one takes it a step further and makes it even better. Outside of the fact that it's black and red, which is obviously my thing, it also has a better detection range. And it has stealth technology, meaning in certain states, police officers cannot detect that you are using this. What we're going to do today is we're actually going to install this. We're going to make this a real seamless install in the truck, and it's not going to be something that's stuck on the windshield or has a bunch of wires running to a cigarette lighter. Instead, we are going to hardwire it right to the power of the rear view mirror and also mount it right underneath the rear view mirror. Now, this stuff is not necessarily the cheapest way to do this, but it is definitely the cleanest. So in order to do exactly what I'm going to be doing here in this video, obviously you need a radar detector. Which one you get is totally up to you, but I highly recommend this one right here, and I actually sell this on my website. So if you want to check that out, I will put a link in the description down below where you can get one of your own and also help support this channel. But what we have to do is kind of put together this mount. So if you're interested in doing it the same way I am, this is called a blend mount. The part number is BMG-2001R, and that is specific to this radar detector. So if you get a different one, you can shoot me a message or even go to Blend Mount's website and they will be able to tell you which one you need for your specific radar detector. Now, in this case, all we really have to do is kind of assemble the bottom part here, which is the part that would actually connect to the mount of the radar detector here. The Redline actually uses a magnetic mount, and this part is reused from the windshield sticky mount and actually goes into these little prongs here with a couple of Allen head screws. But as you can see here, if you get it from Blend Mount, they also give you the instructions on how to assemble this thing. I've already done this once in my Corvette, so I know how to do it, but if you don't, it's all laid out there for you. Plus, I'm going to show you how to do it right now. So the blend mount will come to you just like this with this installed right in here. It's just two Allen key screws to remove it. Once we remove the little metal shaft there, that's going to actually go in between the magnetic mount and hold everything together. Then we can go ahead and take the supplied Allen screws, put it in here, and start kind of just finger tightening everything. We can go ahead and head over to the truck now and get this thing mounted to the mirror stock. All right, guys, we are now in the Colorado ZR2. There's the radar detector. We are going to start working on getting it installed underneath the mirror here. I'm going to go through all the process with you and show you what power wires you need to tap, where the ground wire is at, how to set it all up, and how to make it look and function the best it possibly can. So let's get into it now. We're going to start by pulling the mirror down so we can access all of the plastic behind here. The radar detector is obviously part of this entire process, but what's even more so a part is the blend mount, which we set up earlier in the video. This is something else you're definitely going to want to have in order to do this exact same setup. Like I said in all my videos, all this stuff will be linked in the description down below so you can buy it for yourself. Now, I don't really have any kind of arrangement worked out with the people over at Blend Mount. They make some really awesome quality products that really help make your radar detector look like part of the car. But if you guys want these things, I will link this in the description down below from Amazon. That's where you can typically get these the cheapest. Now, I also have this wire here. This is called a mirror tap wire. Again, Nothing worked out with them, but I will link it in the description down below if you guys are interested in pulling the power directly from your mirror to provide the power for your radar detector. This is the best way to do it. Now, finally, I do kind of have a arrangement worked out to provide radar detectors. So I will be selling these on my website at horsepowerobsessed.com. I so much so believe in Escort radar detectors that I want to also provide these to you guys. So these will be listed on my website. If you're interested in the Redline 360, which is actually kind of hard to get right now, go ahead and check it out. I'll put it in the description down below. But like I said, it is my website. It's called horsepowerobsessed.com. Now, what we're going to do from here, we're going to start pulling the plastic off up here so we can access the power wire for the mirror to put the mirror tap into. That way the radar detector can pull power from somewhere and it doesn't have to have a giant cable running all the way down here to the cigarette lighter and stuff. So this is the best way to do it, in my opinion, at least. The plastic piece right here, as you can see, there's a split that runs right down there, so we can kind of pull that out separately from the rest of it. You can kind of just grab it and pull it. It's not really on there that well. What I recommend is pushing the mirror down as far as you can, kind of just getting your finger right up in this and just pulling straight out. So just like that. Now we have this piece of plastic out, and as you can see here, all of the electrical connectors are right in there. Very easy to remove this though, and it will look really nice and clean once we get that mirror tap wire up in there. Now what we need to do is, again, above the mirror, we can come right up to the power wire here. We need to separate these two connectors. So the pin is actually in the back here. You can just squeeze it and pull it up and out. So once it's out, we can have better access to the wires that we're going to have to tap, because they're going to be a little bit difficult, but it's definitely going to be way too hard with them stuffed up in there like that. So we're going to go ahead and pull that out now so we can have better access. Now here is the harness with it unplugged, and there's a couple wires in here we're going to tap, two specifically. One's going to be black and one is going to be a violet or purple color. The power wire, or accessory power I should say, is the purple wire right there with a green stripe on it. So that will basically provide power to the radar detector only when your ignition is on. Now, obviously, the ground wire is going to be right there, and it's the black wire. And no problem whatsoever, guys. Those things slide right into the factory harness, and yeah, it's in there pretty well. It's not going anywhere, and we're now going to have power when the ignition is on for the radar detector without having wires running everywhere. I know I keep repeating myself, but this is very exciting for somebody who wants to have the protection that a radar detector offers without the inconvenience that it also offers. So this is the best solution, in my opinion, aside from having an actual radar detector system installed in your car, which can easily be thousands of dollars. So this is definitely the way to go if you just want a regular windshield mounted radar detector. Now, with the mirror tap plugged into the factory harness, we're going to go ahead and reconnect everything and kind of button it up in a way that looks nice. Put the piece of plastic back over top of it and have this particular wire hanging to the right side of the mirror, because the radar detector has a plug on the right side. Just like that, the factory harness is installed back in. I might actually run it out the bottom here just to hide the wire even further. That way there's even less wire showing. So either option you can go with depending on what makes you feel more comfortable. But for me, I'm gonna run it out right here. So it'll be right beside the mirror stock. And that's it. So as you can see, the wire's running right out the bottom. I can pull up my mirror and put it back where I want it. And now we have access to power at any point as long as the truck is on. But for giggles, let's go ahead and test it. Probably should have done that before I buttoned it back up, but I'm pretty confident because I've done this before. For you guys, if you haven't done this before, definitely test it before putting all that stuff back together. So I'm gonna go ahead and just turn the truck to accessory power. And then I'm gonna plug in my radar detector to make sure it is pulling power while in accessory mode. And it is, as you can see. So we are good to go. I'm going to go ahead and finish up the blend mount installation, but we now have power, so that is a good thing. So in order to make this wide enough to fit the stock of the mirror, we actually have to remove the second screw down as well. Well, not remove, but at least loosen it so this can open up even wider. And as you can see, I have a lot more space here now. So with this split in half like that, we're going to go ahead and put it up underneath. Make sure not to pinch that power wire. And then you should be able to pull the two pieces together just like that. Now it is on the stock and just needs tightened up. So I will go ahead and start tightening up the other side that we just loosened a second ago. And that pretty much puts it on there at a loose standstill there. So basically it's on. We just need to tighten up some of these screws and make sure it is on there as straight as possible. I'm going to go ahead and adjust these screws a little bit. You can see right there though, that is what we're working with. This is where the radar detector will actually mount. And once we tighten everything up, this will be real nice and rigid. And we're pretty much done here, guys. So there's a lot of adjustment screws over on the sides that you want to keep in mind. I'm still going to play around with this a little bit to get it as much level as possible. The screw at the very top is the only one you really need to tighten for getting it tight on the actual mirror stock. The rest of these are really for adjustment. So you want this radar detector to be as level as possible and obviously straight as possible so it can do its job, but in the meantime it will also look really clean while doing it. So as you can see there, the power wire goes right up into the cabin of the truck, and the radar detector itself is mounted to the mirror stock, looking very clean, very functional. So definitely big thumbs up all around. I absolutely love the radar detector. It's one of the best ones I've ever used, and I have always used Escort products, but this one just has so many features to it, it's not even funny. So if you guys are interested, like I said, all this stuff will be in the description down below. But now my ZR2 is just as protected as my ZR1. Unfortunately, there is not a blend mount out for the C8 Corvette just yet, so we're still waiting on that one, but that will be a future video and a future ordeal for me to jump on. But basically, this is good to go. I'm going to go ahead and tighten up a couple of these screws and maneuver things around a little bit to get it nice and level. But at the end of the day, I think you guys get the idea. The blend mount is very adjustable and very clean looking when it's fully installed. Same with the mirror tap wire, and then of course the radar detector. This particular one is the Redline 360C, and it is black and red, just like the truck, just like the ZR1, and pretty much like the C8, only opposite. But anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and tighten these screws up, and then I'm going to meet you back here to show you a little bit about how the radar detector works. The wires that we tapped for the Colorado ZR2 will be the same for any Colorado you have. If you have a Corvette, stay tuned for that video. I'll be bringing that out as well to show you what wires you need to tap for that to have accessory power only. Now, one thing to keep in mind is you do have some adjustability through the mirror itself. So once you tighten down these screws, if you're looking for fine-tune adjustments, you can actually move the mirror stock a little bit to get this where you want it. I hope this video kind of helps you out though, guys, because this is definitely something I highly recommend if you are often traveling on the turnpike or any kind of highways driving. I don't necessarily go out and just constantly break the speed limit, but let's be honest, guys, it does happen from time to time, even if you don't intend it to. So these kind of things will keep you safe, and it will look like a stock option while doing it. If you guys are familiar with the radar detector, there's not a lot different right off the bat. It's just the sensitivity and the range of this thing that will really put it over the top. We are going to go ahead and turn on the truck and watch the startup process here. I have not even set this thing up yet, so all of the options are still 100% stock. But the best part about these Escort radar detectors is you can actually pair your phone to it to go through all the options and make sure everything is set up the way you want it. Now, every state is different, but here in Pennsylvania, the typical radar detection is either K or KA band. So anything other than that, for the most part, you can turn off. That way, any kind of false alerts that would false on that frequency will be turned off as well. So here we are on my phone, guys. As you can see, the top one there, Escort Redline 360C, is disconnected. That's the one for my ZR1, but this is the new one showing up in the truck. If I touch on that, it will actually allow me to go ahead and pair with that radar detector. So we'll just hit pair, and then you can see the little Bluetooth icon there. So we're ready to go. Now I can go in here and change some of the settings. Now, again, like I said, these settings are going to be specific to my state in Pennsylvania. If you're not in Pennsylvania, you can probably send me a message. I can look it up for you. It's not overly difficult, but depending on your state, these will be slightly different. So my radar detector settings, I always like to keep this in auto, because what that is going to do is kind of reduce the sensitivity around town and ramp it up as your speed increases. Brightness, I always leave this on maximum. The scanning bar for the pilot is the best way to do it. That's basically what you can see there, kind of pulsating around up on top of the auto. Down below, meter mode, I keep that the same. Auto mute, I turn that off because I get too reliant on that, and if I can't hear it making noise, that sometimes is a problem. Audio tones, I keep standard. ZR3 mode, I keep that off because that's only if you have laser jammers or some additional product basically I don't have, so just leave it off. Auto power, you can leave that off because the radar detector will turn off with the truck because of how we have it hooked up. Unit's obviously English unless you're overseas. GPS filter, we want that on for sure. That is going to help with false alerts. As you pass something that sets off the radar detector 3 times in a row, it will automatically add it, so it won't alert you for that anymore. Same thing with auto learn, you want to have that on. Cruise alert, I like to keep that around 35 miles an hour. Basically anything under 35 it will not alert me for, because odds are good you're not speeding at 35 miles an hour. Overspeed alert, I turn this off because I don't need to be told whenever I'm speeding. I can usually tell myself, but of course I never do that. The display color, obviously we're going to leave that red in my case, but you do have other choices: amber, red, green, or blue. So if you have a different car or different truck, you can change that to match your interior gauges. Speed on display is basically going to show you how fast you're going. I like to leave that on because it is through the GPS chip that it will tell you how fast you're going, and that also indicates to me that the GPS chip is up and running and good to go. Aero mode I'm going to leave on single because that is the way that basically is the easiest to understand. If you turn that on to anything other than single, it's going to show you multiple radar signals at once and it gets a little confusing. For laser, I do leave that on, even though the way it's set up now, if that thing is detecting laser and it starts alerting you that there is laser, odds are good they've already gotten your speed. Like I said, in PA they don't really use that, but I do leave that on because I've heard that that is an up and coming thing for PA. Pop, we can leave that off. KA band, we definitely want that on. K band on. X band for me, I could turn that off because I'm here in PA. And then TSR I also leave off because this is really like speed cameras. We don't have a lot of those here in PA. And then down here is where you can actually start getting real crazy with things. You could start turning on and off different bands of K and KA band, and that's something that you're only going to want to do if you are certain of what band they use in your state. But that's pretty much it, guys. That is going to be the setup for our radar detector, and that is how I will run it here in Pennsylvania. But that is going to do it for today's video. So if you liked what you saw here, guys, give me a big thumbs up. If you have any questions about this particular setup, leave them in the comment section down below, and I will definitely make sure you get an answer. If you haven't subscribed yet, guys, please do. I'm going to have loads of Colorado ZR2 content coming you are not going to want to miss. And as always, guys, I will catch you in the next upload.